Good morning, grade 4 students. Hope you are all good. I'm your science teacher, Mrs. Loucy. Today we're going to continue the last section of our lesson, What are ecosystems? The title of this section is Living Things Within Their Ecosystems. So I want you please to bring your book and open it on page 186 so you can follow. The objective of this section is that the students will define the words habitat and population. As a quick revision, what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is all the living and non-living things in an environment and the many ways they interact. So how living things interact together and how these living things interact with the non-living things in the environment. So what are the parts of an ecosystem? The ecosystem, as we said, it has living and non-living part. So the living part includes plants and animals. The non-living part includes air, water, sunlight, and landforms. We already discussed in the previous video the types of ecosystems found in North America. So just to remember, these types are the tundra, rainforests, desert, grassland, and wetlands. We also talked about the characteristics of each ecosystem and the kind of animals that live in each ecosystem. And the kinds of plants and animals that live in an area depend on climate and soil. So these are two important factors for plants and animals to live, survive, and reproduce. You live in your home. Do you know where animals and plants live? Just like you have a house to live, so do animals and plants. So let's discuss, where do animals live? Habitat. Organisms can survive only in environments in which their needs are met. A habitat contains all the living and non-living things that an organism needs to survive. It provides food, water, shelter for organisms to live and reproduce. So the needs of animals in order to live and reproduce are food, water, and shelter. So a habitat is like an address. It is a natural home for animals. So let's define habitat. Habitat is the area or place where an organism lives in an ecosystem. For example, the habitat of a lion is an open grassland with shrubs, trees, and water. Let's take a look at this picture, animal habitats. So as we said in the previous slide, that organisms, so plants and animals, they can survive only in environments in which their needs are met. So each organism needs a different habitat in order to survive and reproduce. So here in the first picture, we have the rainforest. You can find monkeys, chimpanzees, snakes, parrot, gorilla, tigers, and of course many more animals. In the polar areas where you can find snow, the polar bear, penguins, and seals, lemmings. In the wetlands, you can find crocodiles, duck, frogs. And the desert, the familiar animals that we already know, the camel, the lizard, the meerkat, the ostrich, scorpions are also found in deserts. In marine habitats, so in the oceans, you can find the whales, crabs, dolphins, and many other sea animals. And in grasslands, we can find elephants, bison, zebra, giraffe, lion, rabbit, and many other animals. So this picture shows you how each animal lives in a different ecosystem, in a different place, according to its needs. Here we are going to be more specific about some examples of different habitats. So a habitat could be a forest, For some kinds of animals, a tree could be the house, the natural house of other kinds of animals like the snake, monkey, birds, squirrels. They live on trees. A house for spiders, ants, cat, and other animals. Pond could be a habitat, a farm, sea. The beach is the habitat of some animals. So the turtle, the crab, the starfish, they live on the beach, so their habitat is the beach. A field for grasshoppers, buffaloes, cows, and other animals. The soil. So some kinds of animals live under the ground in the soil, like the earthworms and centipedes, so their habitat is the soil. And other kinds of animals, their habitat is on land and water, like the frogs, crocodiles, and turtles. Population. Let's take a look at the pictures below. You can see in the first picture a group of fish, all of the same kind. So this is a population. The second picture shows deer. So it is a group of animals of the same kind living in one area. This is also a population of deer. Third picture, a group of zebras living in one area. This is your population. And the fourth picture also shows a kind of population. What is this population? It is the penguins. So from these pictures, we can understand that a population is all the members of one species that live within an area of an ecosystem. And a population may be large or small. Let's look at this picture. You have the same picture on your book on page 186. It shows a savanna ecosystem in Africa. A savanna is a kind of grassland. There are many populations found in this savanna. Here's an example of a wild beast. If you look at the picture, it is written wild beast, so this is a population. Let's now find another population in the picture and draw an X on each member of that population. I want you please to hold your pencils and draw an X on another population in the picture. Yes, you can see a population of zebra. So let's put an X on each member of this population. You can find about 5 zebras. Let's now solve question number 6. Identify. Write the names of 2 other populations that you think could be part of ecosystem shown here. If you remember, in the previous video, we discussed the kinds of animals that live in grasslands, since a savanna is a type of grassland. We can say the 2 other populations are lions and elephants. Community. Let's look at this picture. It is a savanna habitat. As we said, that the savanna is a kind of grassland ecosystem. I want you please to name 2 populations shown in this picture. Yes, we can say elephants and zebras. So what is a community? Many different populations living in one area is a community. For example, when we talk about a community, we can talk about birds, bears, lions, tigers, zebra, plants, trees. All of these together form a community. I want you to focus on this picture. It helps you understand the difference between a population, a community, and an ecosystem. So let's start here with an organism. An organism is the individual living things. It could be a plant or animal. Here we're taking an example of an animal. It is an organism. A group of the same kind of this animal forms a population. So here we have 5 organisms of the same kind forming a population. What is a community? A community, many different populations living in one area. So here we have different kinds of animals living in one area forming a community. Let's look at the picture above. Ecosystem. A community together with a non-living environment is an ecosystem. So a community means many different kinds of populations living together, and the non-living things, which are the sun, the air, the water, and the landforms, form an ecosystem. So let's look now at the picture to the right. It is similar to the one to the left. So we have an organism, which is one individual. When we have group of the same kind of this animal forming a population, and when we have a group of different kinds of populations making a community, and a community together with the non-living things form an ecosystem. Look please at page 187. Structures for survival. Different organisms in an ecosystem may have similar structures that help them live there. Many organisms that live in the ocean have fins that help them move easily through water. Let's take an example of a platypus. A platypus has special structures that help them survive in their habitats. These structures may include wings that allow them to fly, webbed feet that help them swim, and fur that keeps them warm. So this is a picture of a platypus. It lives in only one small area of the world. These animals make their homes in wetlands throughout the island of Tasmania and the coast of Australia. I want to solve question number 7 on page 187. What kind of ecosystem might this animal live in? Explain how you know. So I want you to think about this animal. It has webbed feet to swim. It has fur to keep it warm. And it is a semi-aquatic animal. It lives on land and in water. So which ecosystem it might live in? Possible answer. This animal lives in wetland ecosystem because it has webbed feet which will help it swim. I want you please to pause the video for a while and copy the answer on your book. As your homework, I want you to read and understand pages 186 and 187, then solve questions 8 and 9 on page 187. Let's read the questions. Number 8. What kind of habitat do you think an animal with long, thick fur would most likely live in? Number 9. Explain. What structures might monkeys have that help them to live in trees? So the habitat of monkeys are the trees. So what structures help them to live in a tree? I'll give you the answers for the homework by tomorrow. I want you please to study well and stay safe.